You know, if you hang out in the home lab community long enough, you'll hear this one thing over and over. You don't need much to run Proxmox Backup Server. And it turns out, they are not kidding. Proxmox Backup Server, or PBS as we all call it, is so ridiculously lightweight that people are backing up terabytes of data on gear they basically had just found. So today, we're going to see just how low you can actually go. So when I say the words backup server, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it, some massive humming server rack that's packed with enterprise hardware, something that costs a fortune and just eats electricity? Well, let's put that expectation right up against the reality for most Proxmox Backup Server users. Yeah, the common image is this power-hungry beast. The reality? A lot of the time, it's just some old MiniPC with like 8 gigs of RAM. It's the kind of software that makes you totally rethink what a backup server even is. So let's actually meet some of these unlikely heroes. We're talking about the budget-friendly powerhouses that are just getting the job done, day in and day out, without any fuss. The undisputed champion in the PBS world seems to be the cheap MiniPC. I mean, people are reporting totally flawless setups on everything. Old Dell Optiplex Micros, B-Link models, even those generic $200 MiniPCs, and the super efficient little Intel N50 boxes. And get this, check this out for efficiency. One user is running their entire PBS setup on a bare metal Optiplex Micro, and at idle, it draws less than 5 watts. That's insane. It's a full-blown backup system that just sips power while punching way, way above its weight class. So here's the key takeaway, right? PBS just isn't that demanding on the CPU or RAM. A simple little quad-core chip and 8 gigs of RAM? Yeah, that's usually more than enough. The real MVP here isn't the processing power, it's your storage performance. That's where you really want to focus your attention. Okay, now a lot of people go a totally different route, virtualization. I get it. Running PBS inside a VM on your main Proxmox host is super convenient. But well, that convenience, it comes with a pretty big catch. Let's just play this out for a second. You've got your PBS instance, it's running as a virtual machine, and it's happily backing up all your other VMs. Everything's great. But what happens if that main server, the actual machine hosting your backup VM, goes down? And this quote from a user just nails the community feeling on this. In a, stuff hits the fan scenario, the absolute last thing you want is a complicated recovery. You need to get to your backups and you need to get to them fast without jumping through a million technical hoops. And here's that chain reaction, laid out perfectly. First, your main Proxmox host fails. Boom. That immediately takes your PBS virtual machine offline. And once that happens, your backups are totally inaccessible. At that point, it's pretty much game over. And that's why so many people prefer a separate physical box for this. Another piece of gear that pops up constantly in these discussions is the Synology NAS. And people use them for everything, right? From just being a simple storage target all the way to actually running the PBS software itself. But using a Synology for PBS? Well, it can get a little complicated. See, not all Synology devices are created equal for this particular job. If you've got one of the higher-end models with a Xeon processor, you're probably golden. But those lower-end ARM or J-series models, they can really struggle with the CPU-heavy tasks of deduplication and indexing, which can create a massive bottleneck in your whole backup process. And all of this brings us to what might be the single most important takeaway here. It's not really about the hardware specs. It's about your strategy. A clever setup is almost always going to beat an expensive one. And let me tell you, this community is incredibly clever. We're seeing people running PBS in a Hyper-V virtual machine on their gaming PC. Someone else has it on a 2018 Mac Mini. Another person just plugs an external USB SSD into their host and calls it a day. Now, are these setups ideal? Maybe not. But do they work? Oh, they absolutely work. This quote just perfectly describes one person's multi-server cross-syncing setup. It is such a testament to the kind of ingenuity and sheer practicality that you see all over the home lab world. It might look a little unconventional, but hey, the results speak for themselves. So what do some of these clever strategies actually look like? Well, a really popular one is running PBS on a local MiniPC and then syncing all that data to a remote NAS for that crucial offsite protection. Others create redundancy with multiple PBS instances that all cross-sync with each other. And some just keep it dead simple, an external USB drive and staggered backups to manage the workload. So, this is it. This is the ultimate question, isn't it? What happens if the machine running Proxmox Backup Server, your dedicated backup box, is the one that fails? Are all your backups just gone? And the answer, thankfully, is yes. You can absolutely recover. The key, and this is the key, is to save your backup configuration files. As long as you have those, you can rebuild. And one user shared this great pro tip: store your restore instructions in a cloud drive. That way, even in a total disaster, you've got the roadmap you need to get all your data back.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. Your next backup server doesn't have to be some brand new, expensive purchase. In fact, it's very, very likely something you already own.
So let's just redefine what a PBS box even is. It's that old mini PC that's been collecting dust in the corner. It's that spare USB solid-state drive sitting in a drawer. The whole point is that your next backup server is probably just the hardware you've already got.
So, after all of this, let's go back to that first question. How low can you go? Well, the answer is pretty damn low. And it still works like an absolute champ.
So I guess that just leaves one final question for you to think about. I want you to take a look around at the old hardware you have just lying around unused. What's in your junk drawer? Because it might just be your next backup server.